The Thanksgiving dinner was ruined the moment my fiancée of 3 years, Chloe, walked in with her male assistant, Cody. The smile on my mother's face froze solid. A whole table of carefully prepared food, turkey, stuffing, casseroles, seemed to lose its warmth, the steam hanging motionless in the air. Mr. and Mrs. Carter, happy Thanksgiving. Cody was a natural, all charm and confidence, holding out a bottle of wine and a pecan pie with a smile brighter than anyone's. You'd think he was the guest of honor. Chloe clung to his arm, offering me an explanation with an air of absolute entitlement. Ethan, Cody's family, is all the way on the West Coast. It felt too cruel to let him spend the holiday alone in the city, so I brought him along to celebrate. You don't mind, do you? It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Before I could answer, my mother stood up, her face a thundercloud. She headed for the kitchen to get another set of plates, her movements so stiff with reluctance a blind man could have seen it. My dad's expression was even worse. He was a retired history teacher, a man of principle who valued tradition above all else. On a day meant for family, for his future daughter-in-law to bring a strange man to the table. What was that supposed to mean? Chloe, this isn't really appropriate, is it? My dad's voice was impressively restrained. The smile on Chloe's face faded, replaced by a flicker of annoyance. Dad, why are you being so old-fashioned? It's 2023. Cody is my most important partner at work. What's wrong with showing some compassion for my team and bringing him to dinner? Besides, Ethan and I are getting married. Your house is my house, isn't it? Do I need to submit a formal request to bring a friend over? She fired off the words sharp and fast, as if accusing my dad of making a federal case out of nothing. My mom returned with a plate and silverware, placing them in front of Cody with a loud clatter. Easy there, Mrs. Carter. You made me jump, Cody said with a smirk, but his eyes darted to Chloe, a hint of a whine in his tone. That was all it took. Chloe's face soured. She glared at my mom. What's that supposed to mean? Who are you trying to send a message to? Cody is my guest. Is this how you treat guests? A fire ignited in my gut. Chloe, that's enough, I said, my voice cold. Today is for my parents and our family to be together. It's not an occasion for you to play the benevolent boss and show off for your subordinate. Chloe looked stunned that I'd dared to challenge her in front of her assistant. Her face flushed a deep red. What is your problem, Ethan? I bring a friend to dinner, and you act like this? Are you that insecure? Cody works his ass off for me. He's helped me so much. I can't just let him eat ramen alone in his shoebox apartment because I have to have dinner with your family. Where's your sympathy? Where's your kindness? With a string of accusations, she seized the moral high ground, as if my refusal to welcome Cody made me cold-blooded, cruel, and petty. Cody, for his part, put on a show of placating her. Chloe, maybe I should just go. I don't want to cause trouble for your family. He said the words, but his butt was glued to the chair. Go where? Sit down. Chloe pushed him back in his seat, then looked at me, her eyes flashing with defiance. Ethan, Cody is eating here tonight. If you're not comfortable with that, you can leave. The air in the living room dropped to freezing. My dad's lips trembled with rage. My mom's eyes were instantly red. For a complete stranger, she was telling me to get out of my own home? I looked at Chloe's face, twisted with anger, and our 3-year relationship felt like a joke. This wasn't the first time. She was always like this, using my love for her as a license to push my boundaries, to trample on the dignity of me and my family. I used to tell myself to just put up with it, that we were getting married soon. But today I was done putting up with it. I smiled a strangely calm smile. You're right. Well said. I nodded, my gaze sweeping from Chloe to Cody, then to my parents. Finally, my eyes locked on Chloe, and I spoke, each word clear and deliberate. Chloe, you're absolutely right. My home doesn't welcome guests like you. Chloe froze. Ethan, are you insane? No. I stood up, walked to the console table by the door, and pulled the deed to the condo from the drawer. I tossed it onto the dining table. It fell open, the text dark on the page. In the box for the owner's name, clear as day, was one name, Ethan Carter. See that clearly? My voice wasn't loud, but in the silent room, it landed like a thunderclap. This condo, 1,700 square feet. The down payment, the mortgage, I paid for it all. Myself. From day one, there has only ever been one name on this deed. The color drained from Chloe's face. She had always assumed my parents had bought us this multi-million-dollar condo as a wedding gift, that she was automatically entitled to half of it. It was the foundation of her audacity. Now, I pointed to the door, my voice devoid of any warmth. I'm asking you and your pitiable assistant to get the hell out of my home. Immediately, Chloe's lips trembled, her eyes filled with disbelief. She stared at the deed, as if trying to burn a hole through it with her gaze. No, Ethan, you're lying. Your parents bought this place. She shrieked, her voice piercing. My parents were stunned by my actions, but they remained silent, watching. They knew I had been pushed to the edge. I'm lying. I let out a cold laugh and pulled a bank card from my wallet, slapping it on the table. This card automatically pays the $12,000 mortgage every month. In the 3 years we've been together, have you ever seen my parents give me a single dime? You only know how to ask me for money for new bags and makeup every month. Did you ever once care how this mortgage got paid? You? Chloe was speechless. It was true. She had never cared. She took it all for granted. How a regular guy making what she thought was $75,000 a year could afford all this was a question she'd never bothered to ask. Cody's expression was a sight to behold. His whole sycophantic act was built on the assumption that I was marrying into a position of wealth. Now, the foundation of that assumption was crumbling. Ethan, don't you go too far. Chloe's mother, my future mother-in-law, finally snapped, slamming her hand on the table as she stood up. What day is it today? It's Thanksgiving. You're going to kick Chloe out over something so small? Is your heart made of stone? What's wrong with Chloe bringing a colleague? It shows she's popular and kind-hearted. You're a grown man, picking a fight with a woman over this. Have you no shame? The moment she opened her mouth, it was the familiar routine of emotional blackmail and twisting the facts. Something small. I turned to her, my gaze icy. When your daughter brought another man into my home, pointed her finger in my face, and told me to get out, why didn't you say it was something small? When she humiliated my parents for a stranger, why didn't you scold her? Now that I'm defending my own family, suddenly I'm the one who's wrong. The woman's face went from pale to red and back again. She pointed at me, sputtering. You, unable to form a coherent sentence. And another thing, I said, looking back at Chloe. This isn't about just this one small thing anymore. Last month, your brother needed $30,000 for a down payment on a truck. I said no, and you gave me the silent treatment for 2 weeks. The month before that, your cousin saw a handbag she wanted for $8,000, and you put it on my supplementary credit card without batting an eye. In these 3 years, how much of my money have you and your family spent? Do you have any idea? So what if I spend some of your money? We're about to get married. Your money is my money, isn't it? Well said. I nodded, picking up the deed again and waving it in front of her. As of right now, we're not getting married. This condo has nothing to do with you. And every single cent of my money you've spent, starting today, I'll be expecting it back. Ethan, Chloe completely lost it. She lunged for the deed in my hand, but I easily sidestepped her. What now? You want to get physical? I watched her melt down, the last shred of affection I had for her evaporating into thin air. Chloe, calm down. Cody finally snapped out of his stupor and grabbed her, but the look he gave me was full of contempt and schadenfreude. He probably saw me as nothing more than a cheap, petty man who had just shattered Chloe's princess fantasy. Get out! I roared at both of them. My mother quietly came over and took my hand, tears streaming down her face. Son, don't be angry. People like this aren't worth it. My dad sighed, walked to the front door, and pulled it open, making a clear please leave gesture. The message was unmistakable. Chloe's family looked at each other, thoroughly humiliated. Her father, a man who had been silent the entire time, finally spoke, his voice tinged with a plea. Ethan, let's talk this through. Don't burn the bridge. It's Thanksgiving. Think of the embarrassment. Embarrassment. I laughed. The moment she walked in with that man, my family was already a joke. Sir, it's not me who's burning the bridge. It's you people playing my family for fools. Without looking at them again, I took out my phone and made a call. Hello, security? This is Ethan Carter in apartment 1201, Tower 1. I have some trespassers in my home causing a disturbance. Could you please send someone up to handle it? I had the phone on speaker, and the voice echoed clearly through the living room. Chloe's face went from deathly pale to ashen gray. She knew this time I was serious. Security was fast. 2 uniformed guards, both built like linebackers, stepped into the apartment, and the atmosphere changed instantly. Mr. Carter, which individuals are the issue? The head guard asked politely, his eyes sharp. I pointed to Chloe, Cody, and her family, who were still reeling from the shock. Them. Chloe's father's face was livid. He had probably never been so humiliated in his life. He started to say something, but the guard's uncompromising gaze made him swallow his words. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but the owner has filed a complaint. We'll have to ask you to cooperate and come downstairs with us. The guard said, all business. On what grounds? This is my daughter's marital home. Chloe's mother screeched, making a last stand. The guard glanced at the deed in my hand, then back at me, clearly understanding the situation. He spoke into his radio. Dispatch, we have a domestic dispute in 1-1201. Have the patrol unit meet us downstairs. They were prepared to use force. Cody was the first to his feet. The last thing he wanted was to get dragged into a police matter. He mumbled awkwardly to Chloe, "Chloe, maybe we should just go. Let's not ruin the holiday for Mr. and Mrs. Carter." He was calling to Mr. and Mrs. Carter now, not Mom and Dad. Chloe shot him a venomous glare that seemed to say, "This is all your fault." Cody shrank back, not daring to say another word. In the end, under the security guard's escort, Chloe and her family were unceremoniously invited out. As she left, Chloe looked back at me, her expression a toxic mix of hatred, indignation, and a sliver of regret I'd never seen before. "Ethan, you'll regret this," she spat, before being pulled into the elevator by her parents. The door slammed shut, cutting off all the noise from outside. The world was suddenly, blessedly quiet. On the dining table, the feast was almost untouched, already cold. My mom looked at me, wanting to say something, but holding back. She just sighed and began quietly clearing the plates. My dad came over and put a hand on my shoulder. "You did the right thing, son. We don't start trouble, but we don't run from it either. A wife like that, we're better off without her." I nodded. The resentment I'd swallowed for 3 years finally purged from my system. But what followed was a profound emptiness and exhaustion. 3 years of my life. I had been genuine. I remembered she loved the bagels from that one place in Brooklyn, and I was willing to wake up at 5 a.m. to drive across town and wait in line for her. I remembered her terrible period cramps, so I learned to make her special soothing teas and bought every kind of heating pad on the market. I thought my devotion would be met with equal appreciation. Now I saw it was just my own wishful thinking. In her world, my efforts were her due, and her demands were her right. "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I ruined Thanksgiving," I said, my voice hoarse. "Don't be silly, honey." My mom came over, her eyes red. She's the one who didn't know how to appreciate you. It's better this way. A clean break is better than a slow bleed. We're a family. We'll start over and have a proper holiday. She pulled me to the table. "The food's cold. I'll go heat it up. You and your dad should have a drink." That night, I drank a lot with my dad. I didn't say much, and he didn't ask much. Between a father and son, some things are best said through shared silence and whiskey. Late that night, my parents went to bed. I sat alone in the vast, empty living room, staring at the full, bright moon hanging over the city skyline, a storm of emotions churning inside me. My phone buzzed. A text message. It was from Chloe. "I am ordering you to apologize to me immediately. Then you will add my name to the deed. If you don't, we are completely finished." Reading the imperious message, I laughed. Even now, she was still giving orders, still dreaming about the deed. She had no idea what she'd actually done wrong. I didn't reply. I just blocked her number. Then, I opened another chat. It was my childhood friend and business partner, Ryan. I sent him a single line. "That acquisition deal for the tech company we talked about. It's a go. Tell legal and finance to be ready for a 9 a.m. meeting tomorrow." Ryan replied instantly with a shocked emoji, followed by a line of text. "Dude, what? I thought you were putting that on hold to spend time with your fiancé. What changed?" I stared at the screen and typed back 2 words. "We broke up." The other end was silent for a full minute. Then a flood of messages came through. "Good. It's about damn time. That woman never deserved you. Keep your head up, man. Plenty of fish in the sea. We'll crush this deal tomorrow. And then I'm taking you to the best steakhouse in Manhattan to celebrate your freedom." I managed a weak smile and turned off my phone. "Chloe, you thought I was just some random guy making 75 grand a year? You thought leaving me was your loss to bear. You're about to find out exactly what you've lost." The next morning, I got dressed as usual in a simple pair of jeans and a casual shirt and drove my 5-year-old Honda Accord to work. This car, this wardrobe, it was the persona I had maintained for 3 years. Chloe always said I was boring, had no fashion sense, and drove a car that was beneath her. It was embarrassing next to her friends' Porsches and Maseratis. I would just smile and never argue. I never told her that in the private garage under my office building, a Maybach and a Ferrari were parked. I never told her that the plain-looking t-shirt I wore was a custom-tailored piece from an Italian luxury designer. And I certainly never told her that the unicorn tech company, where she was so proud to be the director of marketing, was about to get a new owner. And that new owner was me. At 9 a.m. sharp, in my tiny, unremarkable 10x10 manager's office, a video conference that would decide the fate of hundreds of people began. On the other end of the screen were my legal and finance teams and the founders of the target company, Velocity Tech. "Chloe's company. Mr. Carter, as per your instructions, we've completed all due diligence on Velocity Tech. Their asking price is $80 million. Based on our assessment, that's about 20% overvalued. My CFO, Sarah, reported crisply. Their core tech has a solid moat, but user growth has plateaued, and they're struggling with monetization. Most importantly, their management team is a mess of infighting. The founders have been looking for an exit for months. My COO, Ryan, added. I nodded, looking at the grim, tense faces of the Velocity Tech founders on the screen. $50 million. All cash. The wire transfer will be complete within 1 week. I stated my price directly. Mr. Carter, that's not what we discussed. The CEO's face fell. That was then, this is now. I cut him off. You know exactly how much runway your company has left. $50 million. You walk away with your reputations as founders intact. If you keep dragging this out, you'll be facing bankruptcy, liquidation, and who knows what you'll get then. My tone was calm, but it carried an undeniable weight. This was the game of high-stakes capital, and there was no room for sentiment. They were silent. They knew I was right. Their company was a shiny apple, rotten to the core. After 5 long minutes, the CEO gave a pained nod. All right, Mr. Carter, we agree. Excellent. I stood up. My teams will handle the details with you. I have one additional condition. Name it, Mr. Carter. Once the acquisition is complete, there will be a personnel restructuring. The director of marketing, Chloe Davis. I don't want to see her in the company anymore. As I said it, Ryan gave me a thumbs up. The CEO on the screen paused, likely surprised I would single out a mid-level manager by name. But he didn't hesitate. No problem, Mr. Carter. We'll take care of it. To them, the fate of one marketing director was nothing compared to $50 million in cash. After the meeting, Ryan hopped onto my desk, grinning. Damn, Ethan, that was cold. Abusing your power for personal revenge. I love it. But just firing her. Isn't that letting her off too easy? Too easy. I shook my head. The show is just getting started. That afternoon, I received a text from an unknown number. It was Chloe. Ethan, I was wrong. We can't let 3 years of our history end over something so stupid. Please unblock me. Let's talk this out. Her tone was softer, but the words held no real apology. It was just a roundabout way of trying to get back the man who could buy a multi-million-dollar condo in cash. I deleted the text without a second thought. Meanwhile, a storm was brewing inside Velocity Tech. The news that the company had been acquired by a mysterious investment firm spread like a virus. Everyone was on edge, wondering if their jobs were safe. As the director of marketing, Chloe naturally heard the rumors. She called a department-wide meeting and gave a passionate speech to calm everyone's nerves, saying things like, no matter who the new boss is, the marketing department is the core of this company. As long as we deliver results, no one can touch us. She made a point of calling Cody to her side, praising his talent and potential in front of everyone, and promising to promote him to associate director as soon as things stabilize. Cody, fired up by the promises she was making, stood and swore a solemn oath to lead the team in creating a groundbreaking marketing plan that would blow the new owner away. Chloe watched him, a satisfied smile on her face. She probably figured her career was secure and that she was on the verge of even greater success. As for me, her ex-boyfriend, I was just a bump in the road. She had no idea that the new owner who held her fate in his hands was, at that very moment, watching her ridiculous one-woman show on a security monitor in his office. The next day, Velocity Tech sent out a company-wide email officially announcing the acquisition by Apex Capital. An all-hands meeting was scheduled for the following Monday, where the founder of Apex Capital, the new boss, would be present. Apex Capital wasn't a household name in New York's venture capital scene. It had always maintained a low profile, avoiding publicity. But insiders knew it was an incredibly powerful private equity firm that moved with speed, precision, and ruthlessness. The projects it targeted rarely failed. Reading the email, Chloe wasn't worried. She was excited. In her mind, a more powerful owner was good for the company and good for her. She was completely confident in her position and already fantasizing about how she would impress the new boss and secure more power and a higher salary. She pinned all her hopes on Cody's so-called groundbreaking marketing plan. For the next few days, she and Cody were practically inseparable, working late into the night in the office, hashing out every detail of their proposal. People in the company noticed, and the gossip started. Are Director Davis and that Cody guy getting a little too close? Close? Yesterday, I saw him drape his jacket over her shoulders. The look in his eyes, what? No wonder she brought him home for Thanksgiving. I just feel bad for her boyfriend with the Honda. Some of these whispers reached Chloe's ears, but she didn't care. In fact, she kind of enjoyed the attention. She thought it was proof of her charm and of the purely professional camaraderie between her and Cody. She even sent me a few more texts, all with the same theme, half-hearted apologies mixed with not-so-subtle bragging. Ethan, Our company was acquired by Apex Capital. Ever heard of them? They're a huge deal. My position is totally safe. The new leadership really values the marketing department. I'm working on a major proposal right now. If it's successful, it could double the company's revenue this year. I might get promoted to VP after this. Are you still mad at me? Don't be so petty. Once this project is over, I'll take you to dinner and explain everything about Cody. I read the texts and found them laughable. She was like a clown performing in her own private circus, oblivious to the fact that she was the only one in the audience. I didn't reply to a single one. Over the weekend, I got an unexpected call. It was from Hannah. Hannah was Chloe's college roommate and her best friend. She was a quiet, gentle girl, the complete opposite of Chloe's loud personality. We had met a few times, and I'd always had a good impression of her. Ethan, I'm so sorry to bother you. Hannah's voice sounded hesitant. It's Hannah, Chloe's friend. Hi, Hannah. I know who you are. I heard about what happened with you and Chloe on Thanksgiving. I'm so sorry. I want to apologize to you and your family on her behalf. What she did was way out of line. Hannah's tone was deeply sincere. I was a bit surprised. You don't have to apologize for her. This is between us. I know, but I just feel like you were treated unfairly. Hannah paused, then added in a small voice, honestly, I've been wanting to tell you for a while. Chloe, she was spoiled by her family. She's too aggressive and doesn't think about how her actions affect people. I tried talking to her about it so many times, but she never listens. I was silent. So, someone else had seen it all along. I know it probably doesn't matter now. Hannah's voice got even quieter. I wanted to tell you that you did nothing wrong. Breaking up with her might be a good thing for you. After we hung up, I felt a stir of emotion. At a time when everyone else was calling me petty and insecure, this girl, who I barely knew, was the only one to stand up for me and offer a word of validation. Monday arrived quickly. The all-hands meeting for Velocity Tech was held in the company's largest conference hall. Everyone sat straight-backed, craning their necks, eager to catch a glimpse of the mysterious new owner. Chloe, in particular, had gone all out. She wore her most expensive power suit. Her makeup was flawless, and she clutched the proposal she and Cody had spent sleepless nights creating, ready for her star-making moment. Cody sat beside her, his face flushed with excitement and anticipation. At 10 a.m. sharp, the doors to the conference room swung open. The company's former CEO, now just a figurehead, walked in, flanking another person. When the room saw who it was, a dead silence fell. Every eye was locked, as if drawn by a magnet, on the man who had just entered. The confident smile on Chloe's face froze, then shattered. The proposal fell from her hand, hitting the floor with a soft thud. Her pupils contracted to pinpricks in sheer, unadulterated shock. The expression on Cody's face, beside her, was even more spectacular. He looked like he'd just seen a ghost, his mouth hanging wide open. Because the man walking slowly to the podium, surrounded by the company's leadership, the mysterious founder of Apex Capital, the new boss, was me, Ethan Carter. I was wearing a perfectly tailored Armani suit, my hair was styled, and a faint, unreadable smile played on my lips. I was a world away from the Ethan who drove a Honda Accord and wore casual t-shirts. I didn't look at Chloe. I didn't even glance in her direction. My gaze swept across the entire room, pausing briefly on each employee's face before I took my place at the center of the stage. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ethan Carter, the founder of Apex Capital and the new CEO of Velocity Tech. My voice, amplified by the microphone, carried to every corner of the room. After a moment of stunned silence, the room erupted in thunderous applause. The employees were thrilled. They didn't care who the boss was, only that he was young, successful, and rich. It signaled a bright future for the company and for their salaries and bonuses. Only Chloe remained frozen, a statue of pure horror. Her entire worldview had just been annihilated. The man she dismissed as boring, unambitious, and petty had just become her boss's boss, the very new owner she had been desperate to impress. It couldn't be real. This had to be a nightmare. Next to her, Cody was ashen-faced. He'd just been fantasizing about his promotion to associate director. Now, that fantasy popped like a soap bubble. He had just deeply offended the most powerful man in the company. His career was, for all intents and purposes, over. I gave a brief speech about the company's future, laid out a few ambitious goals, and successfully whipped up the employees' enthusiasm. Then I changed my tone. Of course, a company's growth depends on exceptional talent. But at the same time, we must purge the rot from our ranks. A company's culture rots from the head down. My gaze finally fell upon the section where Chloe was sitting. Though I hadn't named anyone, every head in the room swiveled in her direction. Chloe's body trembled like a leaf in an autumn wind. The former director of marketing, Chloe Davis, I announced her name clearly, used her position to engage in favoritism and cronyism, creating an extremely toxic environment within the company. Furthermore, her lack of personal integrity has caused severe damage to this company's reputation. With every sentence, the color drained further from her face. I am announcing her immediate termination. Furthermore, Apex Capital's legal department will conduct a full investigation into her activities during her employment, including potential embezzlement and corporate espionage. If our suspicions are confirmed, we reserve the right to pursue full legal action. The room exploded with gasps and murmurs. No one expected the new boss's first act to be so swift, so ruthless. Fired, and now under investigation. This was a career death sentence, a black mark that would follow her throughout the industry. No, that's not true. Ethan, you can't do this to me. Chloe finally snapped out of her stupor, screaming as she tried to rush the stage. Two security guards moved instantly, grabbing her by the arms. This is personal revenge. You have no right to fire me. I bled for this company. I achieved great things for this company. You can't just erase all my hard work with a few words. She struggled wildly, her makeup smearing with her tears. She was a pathetic sight. I looked down at her coldly, as if she were a stranger. Your hard work? Was your hard work approving the company's marketing budget for that shell corporation run by your good-for-nothing cousin? Was your hard work leaking our core user data to your friend who was about to jump ship to a competitor? These two bombshells silenced her instantly. She stared at me in terror, her eyes screaming. How did you know? Did you think no one would find out? I picked up a file from the podium and tossed it down in front of her. Director Davis, this is a record of every single transaction you approved for the last 3 years. My lawyers will be happy to go over it with you, line by line, to see which ones require a more detailed explanation. Chloe stared at the papers scattered at her feet and went completely limp. The guards dragged her out of the conference room like a sack of garbage. A dead silence fell over the room. Everyone was stunned by my display of absolute power. My gaze then shifted to Cody, who was already paralyzed with fear. As for you, I pointed at him, an assistant who never even graduated from college and got his job through connections. As of tomorrow, I don't want to see your face in this building again. Cody's legs gave out, and he slid from his chair onto the floor. After dealing with those two, I cleared my throat as if I'd just attended to a minor housekeeping matter. All right, let's continue the meeting. Next on the agenda, let's discuss who will be taking over as the new director of marketing. My new life had just begun, and Chloe's nightmare was just getting started. The news of Chloe's termination and the legal investigation spread through our professional circles within a day. Her so-called friends and contacts vanished without a trace. No one wanted to be associated with her now. She wouldn't accept it. She wanted to fight back. She created anonymous accounts on X and TikTok and began a frantic smear campaign against me. She claimed I was a social climber who used women, that I had seduced her to steal her money and resources, then used them to seize control of her company before kicking her to the curb. She painted me as a modern-day monster and herself as the tragic heroine betrayed and framed. She even recorded a tearful video recounting my atrocities. She cried so pitifully, it was almost convincing. Her performance was surprisingly effective. For a short time, a swarm of online vigilantes who didn't know the facts began attacking me. The company's PR department was nervous and asked if they should intervene. I shook my head. No, let it get as big as possible. Ryan didn't understand. Aren't you worried it'll affect the company's stock? When a rabid dog is barking, the more you try to hit it, the louder it gets, I said, looking at the vile comments on my screen with a calm expression. The best way to deal with a rabid dog is to put it down with a single, decisive blow, so it can never make a sound again. I told the legal department to accelerate their investigation. Chloe's dirty dealings were amateurish. They didn't stand up to real scrutiny. 3 days later, just as her crying video reached its peak viral moment and she had garnered widespread sympathy as a woman persecuted by corporate power, Apex Capital's official X account dropped a bombshell. A multi-page investigative report and a copy of a formal legal complaint. The report laid out, with meticulous evidence, every single one of Chloe's violations. The list included, but was not limited to, falsifying $300,000 in invoices for personal expenses, selling the company's core client list, valued in the millions, to a competitor for $50,000, and using her authority to hire more than a dozen unqualified relatives and friends for high-paying positions. Every charge was backed by bank statements, copies of contracts, email screenshots, and other irrefutable proof. The final nail in her coffin was a recording attached at the end of the report. It was a conversation between Chloe and her cousin. Chloe, this 30 grand marketing fee seems a little low, don't you think? You got me 50 for that last project. What do you know? The company just got bought out. The new boss isn't here yet, but they're scrutinizing the books. Take the 30 for now. Once the dust settles, I'll get you something bigger. Don't worry. As long as I'm in this chair, you'll get your cut. The audio was crystal clear, the content damning. The moment the report was published, public opinion flipped on a dime. The same people who had been sympathizing with Chloe and attacking me immediately turned on her with a vengeance. Holy SHD, the plot twist. This woman is shameless. She steals from her company and then plays the victim. This is a new low. Go get her, Mr. Carter. People like her belong in jail. Chloe's anonymous accounts were flooded with furious comments. The videos and posts she'd made became a monument to her own stupidity. She tried to fight back, creating new accounts and claiming the recording was fake and the evidence was photoshopped. But this time, no one believed her. I had my legal team formally file charges of embezzlement and corporate espionage with the district attorney's office. The day the police came to arrest her, I heard she had a complete breakdown, crying and screaming my name, demanding to see me. I didn't go. From the moment I threw her out of my home, that woman was already dead to me. With Chloe's chapter closed, my life and work returned to normal. After acquiring Velocity Tech, I implemented a series of aggressive reforms, cutting unprofitable divisions and restructuring the staff. The company quickly regained its momentum. I promoted a talented and driven young manager to fill the vacant marketing director position. Everything was moving in the right direction. One afternoon, I was working in my office when my assistant knocked. Mr. Carter, Ms. Lee is here to see you. She says you have an appointment. Lee? I paused for a second, then remembered. Hannah. After she had called to apologize, we had exchanged numbers and texted occasionally. A few days ago, she had insisted on taking me to dinner, to thank me in person and to atone for Chloe's behavior. I had tried to refuse, but she was so adamant that I finally agreed. Sent her up. A few minutes later, Hannah appeared at my office door. She was wearing a simple light blue dress, her long hair falling over her shoulders. She looked quiet and graceful. Seeing my enormous office and the team of assistants outside, she seemed a bit intimidated. Ethan, I mean Mr. Carter. She nervously corrected herself. Ethan is fine. I smiled, inviting her to sit. Can I get you something? Coffee, tea. Just water is fine, thank you. I poured her a glass and sat on the sofa across from her. What can I do for you? Hannah fidgeted with her hands for a long moment before pulling a bank card from her purse and gently pushing it across the table toward me. There's $75,000 in here. I know it's nothing compared to the losses Chloe caused you, but it's all of my savings. Her voice was quiet. The pin is 6 zeros. I know what she did cost you a lot. I want to pay some of it back for her. I stared at the card in surprise. What is this? I frowned. She owes me that, not you. It has nothing to do with you. It does, Hannah said, looking up, her eyes a little red. Back when she leaked your company's client data to me and tried to get me to take it to a competitor. I refused, but I didn't tell you right away. If I had warned you then, maybe you wouldn't have lost so much. So, I'm also responsible. She was taking all the blame on herself. Looking at her guilt-ridden face, I felt a strange pang in my chest. How could there be such a naive girl in the world? Chloe had used her as a disposable pawn, and yet here she was feeling guilty for Chloe's crimes, even willing to give up her life savings to atone for them. Take the car back. I pushed it back to her, my tone leaving no room for argument. I told you, this has nothing to do with you. If you really feel bad, you can buy me dinner. We'll call it even. Hannah looked at me, stunned, as if she hadn't expected me to say that. Really? Is that okay? Of course. I stood up. Come on, I'm hungry anyway. I know a great Italian place nearby. That night, we talked for hours. We talked about funny stories from college, about our first jobs after graduation, and about our families. I learned that Hannah came from a working-class family. Her parents worked in a factory, and she had fought hard to make it on her own in New York. That $75,000 represented years of her sweat and sacrifice. And Chloe had been perfectly willing to sell her out in an instant. I found myself feeling a new level of admiration and protectiveness for this girl who was so gentle on the outside, but so strong and kind on the inside. After dinner, I drove her home. She lived in an old, run-down apartment building, the lights in the hallway flickering. I'll walk you up, I offered. No, it's fine. It's just a few steps, she said, waving her hands dismissively. I didn't insist. I just watched her walk into the building until the dim, motion-activated light flickered on, then off again. I turned the car around to leave. As I pulled out of the complex, a familiar figure darted out from the shadows and stood in front of my car. It was Chloe's mother. She looked far more haggard than the last time I'd seen her, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes filled with a crazed, venomous rage. She slammed her fists on my car window, her voice a shrill scream. "Ethan, you bastard! You destroyed my daughter, and now you have the nerve to be out whining and dining some other woman. I hope you rot in hell." I lowered the window and looked at the hysterical woman before me. I destroyed her? If you hadn't coddled and spoiled her entire life, would she have ended up like this? If your whole family hadn't treated her like a personal ATM, constantly demanding more, would she have gotten desperate enough to break the law? My words were like a knife, twisting deep in her heart. "You're lying," she shrieked. "Chloe is my flesh and blood. What's wrong with loving my own daughter? She was good to us. She gave us money. That's how it's supposed to be. It's all your fault. You ungrateful snake. Chloe was blind to have ever fallen for you." Was she? I gave a cold smirk. Well, her eyes should be wide open now. Instead of wasting your time blocking my car, maybe you should go visit her. I hear she's not having a very good time in jail. The amount of money involved was too great. Chloe had been formally indicted and denied bail. Given her crimes, she was looking at a minimum of 10 years in prison. "Ethan, I'm begging you, please let her go." Her mother's demeanor shifted in a heartbeat. She dropped to her knees in front of my car with a thud and began to wail. She knows she was wrong. She really does. If you drop the charges and let her out, we'll leave New York immediately. We'll never bother you again. I'm begging you. She started banging her head on the pavement, the sound sickeningly dull. A few passers-by had stopped to stare, pointing and whispering. I looked at her, feeling nothing. If only she had shown an ounce of reason on Thanksgiving. If she had just told Chloe to back down, none of this would have happened. Her indulgence had pushed her own daughter off a cliff. The law is the law. She committed a crime, and she has to face the consequences. This is beyond me dropping the charges. I started the car, steered around her, and slowly drove away. In my rearview mirror, I could see her kneeling on the cold asphalt, her cries echoing in the night like a vengeful spirit abandoned by the world. But I knew this was a fate of her own making. I hadn't gone far when my phone rang. It was Hannah. "Ethan, are you okay?" I was upstairs. Consequences. This is beyond me dropping the charges. I started the car, steered around her, and slowly drove away. In my rearview mirror, I could see her kneeling on the cold asphalt, her cries echoing in the night like a vengeful spirit abandoned by the world. But I knew this was a fate of her own making. I hadn't gone far when my phone rang. It was Hannah. "Ethan, are you okay?" I was upstairs, and I think I saw Chloe's mom cornering you. Her voice was filled with concern. "I'm fine." My voice softened involuntarily. "She's gone." "Oh, good." She sighed in relief. Then, in a small voice, she added, "I'm sorry. I caused you more trouble." "No trouble at all," I smiled. "Get some rest. Good night." "Good night." After the call, the oppressive atmosphere in the car lifted. I thought of Hannah's kind, gentle face, of the guilty but determined look in her eyes when she offered me that bank card, and I felt a gentle stirring in my heart. Maybe ending the wrong relationship was just making way for the right person. The next day, I asked Ryan to look into Hannah's background. She was working as a designer at a small ad agency. The pay was low, the hours were long, and she was constantly overworked. Worse, her direct supervisor was a notorious creep who was always using work as an excuse to touch her or make inappropriate comments. I looked at the photo in her file, a face that was slightly tired but still beautiful, and my brow furrowed. That afternoon, I made a call to the owner of that ad agency. "Mr. Thompson, this is Ethan Carter from Apex Capital." The man on the other end was clearly flabbergasted, his voice fawning. Mr. Carter. "Hello, sir. What can I do for you?" "Nothing much," I said coolly. "I'm just calling to inform you that one of your designers, a woman named Hannah Lee, now works for me. Also, that director of yours who likes to harass his female employees, you can consider this as 2 weeks' notice." Yes. Absolutely. Not a problem, Mr. Carter. I'll take care of it right away." I hung up the phone, leaned back in my chair, and allowed myself a small, almost imperceptible smile. No one was going to mess with my girl. That same afternoon, Hannah got a call from her boss. The man who usually barked orders at her was now speaking in a tone so humble it was practically scraping the floor. He first announced that her predatory supervisor had been fired. Then he carefully informed her that she had been hired by Velocity Tech, the biggest tech firm in the city, as a lead designer. The salary was 5 times what she was currently making. Hannah was floored. Her first thought was that it had to be a scam. It wasn't until she received the official offer letter from Velocity Tech's HR department that she finally believed it was real. Her hand was shaking as she held her phone. She couldn't understand how such an incredible thing could have just fallen into her lap. The first person she thought to call was me. "Ethan, this was you, wasn't it?" Her voice trembled with disbelief. What was? I feigned ignorance. My boss was just fired and then Velocity Tech sent me an offer to be their lead designer, she said in a rush, then waited anxiously for my response. I chuckled softly. Congratulations. Talent will always be recognized. Your hard work finally paid off. I didn't admit it directly, but a girl as smart as Hannah could read between the lines. She was silent on the other end for so long, I thought the call had dropped. Then I heard a soft, suppressed sob. Thank you, Ethan. She choked out. Really? Thank you. It was the first time I'd ever heard her cry. It wasn't the dramatic, tantrum-like wailing of Chloe, but a quiet, heartfelt release of years of frustration, surprise, and overwhelming gratitude. My heart softened. Don't cry, I said. You earned this. Get yourself ready for your new job. From now on, no one will ever bully you again. A week later, Hannah started at Velocity Tech. I didn't give her any special treatment. She went through the same orientation as every other new hire. But I couldn't help myself. I would sometimes watch her on the security monitors in my office. Watch her focused on her work. Watch the light in her eyes as she debated designs with her colleagues. She was like a flower that had been transplanted into rich soil, blooming with a brilliance that was visible to the naked eye. Her design talent was quickly recognized by everyone, and she led her team on several hugely successful projects. Naturally, rumors started to circulate about us. Some said she was a distant relative of mine. Others whispered she was my secret girlfriend. I never confirmed or denied any of it. I just kept sending her dinner on the nights she worked late, had an anonymous bouquet of sunflowers delivered to her desk when her projects launched successfully, and made sure my assistant left medicine for her when she was sick with a cold. I was protecting her in my own clumsy, careful way. This continued for 3 months until the annual company gala. As CEO, I was cornered into drinking far too much. At the end of the night, I was walking unsteadily out of the ballroom, my driver already waiting. Just as I was about to get into the car, I heard a clear voice behind me. Ethan! I turned. Hannah was standing a few feet away, her cheeks flushed, though whether from the wine or something else, I couldn't tell. You haven't left yet? I asked. She nodded, then shook her head. She took a deep breath, as if summoning all the courage she possessed, and walked toward me. She stopped right in front of me and looked up, her clear eyes shining brightly in the night. Ethan, she looked right at me and asked, each word deliberate, do you like me? I looked at her, and my heart skipped a beat. I didn't say a word. I just reached out, gently, and pulled her into my arms. Her body was soft and warm, and she smelled faintly of her shampoo. I leaned in close and whispered in her ear, in a voice only she could hear, I do. Hannah, will you be my girlfriend? The girl in my arms went rigid for a second. Then, with all her strength, she hugged me back. Outside the window, the New York City skyline was a glittering tapestry of light. I knew, in that moment, that the light meant for me had finally been turned on.